friends, welcome back. It's me, Disco, and we're here painting our Death Guard again. So at this point, we've done a bunch of things. We've done a bunch of washes, we've kind of applied verdigris and some rust effects. We've put washes on a bunch of these things. And now we're going to be moving into doing a bunch of little things. So part of what I want to do today is we're going to hit some of the areas that we had previously put the white ink into, and we're going to try these fluorescent paints. I have never used these before, and I want to see if it looks good as a glow for the lenses, but also for things like the plasma gun. So that's one thing that we're going to try to work on. The second thing is we're going to do some highlights. So these are our lightest tones for our armor, for the Nurglings and the fleshy bits, and then for the bones and the horns. And so we're going to do a little bit of highlighting, not a ton, but just a little bit. And the last thing we're going to do involves an experiment we did last time with this guy. So with the Sorcerer, I wanted to see if this color shift paint would work for me, or if I liked the way it looked. And I was thinking maybe this would be kind of cool, like warp magic style thing. I think it's a nice paint, but I don't like it for this. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take, I have some AK Warm Gray. I'm picking this because it has like a really good, it's very opaque. Like this covers really well. And I'm going to paint over all of these purple spots. And then I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting with some AK White. And I think I'm just going to end up washing the smoke bits of this with Plaguebearer Flesh. And to give it kind of a more traditional, like, Nurgle feel. This does mean, however, I can't get away with what I was hoping, which is I didn't want to have to paint all the little flies. So I'm going to have to think about how I want to paint those. We might do something really simple, like using some contrast paints. But yeah, so we'll have to kind of figure out what we're going to do with that. But yeah, to get started, we'll go ahead, and I'm actually going to do what we just described. I'm going to get this warm gray painted to clean up the little bit of color shift paints that we did previously. And yeah, so we'll start there. I also want to, today, I want to get into doing the basing. So I have this wet ground acrylic medium, a little dusty. And I like using this for actually just for a lot of my models, but I think these are also good for Nurgle because it's kind of grody, it's kind of gross looking, and yeah, I could imagine them traipsing about in a bunch of sloppy mess, and you know, that'd be kind of normal for them. So I'm gonna grab a brush. I know in my get started video I had kind of mentioned how this is falling apart, and it still is. But I'm going to do my best to keep using it until it gets to a point where I just can't anymore, because that's kind of how I work with a lot of stuff. Because you don't want to, like, I spent money on this. I bought it during the start of this project, so I was like, it'd be nice if I had some new brushes. And so I picked up a couple of new brushes, and it ended up not being very good. But that's okay. I'm going to get what use I can out of it. But since it's kind of prone to losing hairs, I'm probably not going to use this brush very heavily. I'm going to try to do a little bit with it here and there, but you know, if it starts losing a few more hairs, I'm probably going to have to, I don't know, figure out what I want to use this for. Because even if you're like using this for like dry brushing or something like that, I would be concerned about getting hairs in all of your stuff, like getting a bunch of brush hairs stuck on your miniature when you're trying to work. So I have a feeling that that's going to be, like, that's going to deter me from wanting to do too much with them. For this though, since it's just kind of like a cleanup step, and I'm just going to be it's going to be quick and dirty, and I'm not worrying too much, I'm going to go ahead and use it. I'm getting these wings back here. A lot of my decision making around this color shift paint was like, one, I thought it would look cool, but two, I thought maybe this would save me some work. The irony being now it's going to cause me to do more work because I need to clean it up. But, you know, that's okay. Like I've said previously, I think a part of this is we're just trying to practice our hobby and we're trying to learn new things. And for me in particular, like, this is a new technique, it's a new product, and you got to experiment because, you know, it's the only way you learn. And you can just kind of sit in what you know and what you're comfortable with. And if that's what you want, that's fine. But I want to do a little bit more. I would like to expand my skill set. Like I've said, like, I'm not a professional painter. I'm not an expert or anything. I'm just someone who really likes this stuff and who wants to be better at it. And it's kind of like anything else, you got to practice. And sometimes you got to do stuff that's a little outside of what you're used to. So I'm trying to be careful around these sensors. And, you know, if we get a little on them, it's okay. Again, it's something that we can easily clean up, especially since the look we're going for those is particularly, like, it's already kind of grody. But the next step for these is I'm probably going to do a light dry brush on them with the copper color to bring a little bit of that back, to clean it up a little bit. So we'll have an opportunity to do a little bit of little fixing of things there. Yeah, like I got a little too much right there. I'm not going to worry about that because after we wash and do everything else, that's going to get cleaned up. And then for the rest of these little guys, we're just going to keep going and keep applying this paint. Yeah, I like this particular gray. It's kind of a warmer tone, and I do feel like it is good at kind of covering over stuff, especially when I'm like trying to redo something. Okay, let's turn them around. Let's go back to the back here. And yeah, I hope everyone's week is going well. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, but I wanted to keep doing stuff. I kind of like having the schedule of making these YouTube videos because it's like, you know what? I gotta do my hobby. I gotta do stuff. And I am excited about upcoming things I want to work on. I have a couple of ideas, which I've rattled off a little bit in previous videos, but I think I got a little on his hand. That's okay. I've rattled off some ideas on some previous videos about some things I would like to try coming up here. And I think some of those I'm probably going to do. I decided that since I'm doing this as like a part of the Kill Team starter set, I want to finish that starter set, so I want to get the Space Marine part of that done. So I am going to do Space Marines next. I haven't settled on what chapter I want the Space Marines to be. I'm thinking I'm really tempted to have them be Lamenters because I've always liked the Lamenters, even though they're kind of punching bags. But I also I like their color scheme a lot, and I find that that'll probably push me as well because the Lamenters color scheme is yellow, which is a color I don't paint with very often. And also they have the check patterns, and I'm going to have to freehand the shoulder pad, which their shoulder pad symbol is like a heart with like a little drop near it, which is going to be tricky. But I think I could do it. And that's half the battle, really, is just thinking, you know what, I might not be perfect at it, but I can give it a shot. So yeah, I'm strongly considering doing Lamenters. If I don't do Lamenters, I might do Blood Angels or Salamanders, because those are two other factions that I kind of like. But yeah, so we've got that paint down. We'll let this guy dry. It doesn't take too long to dry, but we'll leave him off to the side and move on to our other people. So, what are we going to do with this guy? I think I'm actually going to put this brush up. Just using it now, like, it's got a bunch of hairs going everywhere. It's making me sad. I'm going to move to another brush. I may actually use one of these little disposable brushes with a little tiny tip. These are, I mean, you can see how loose the hairs are in here. Like, they're not incredible, but I think for what we're going to be doing, this is totally fine. So I'm going to get a little bit of water on that. And then we're going to start doing the fluorescence. There's not actually a lot, but we have a couple of guys who have some like little eye lenses that we're going to try to make look glowy. We're going to try to do the plasma on the gun. And yeah, we'll just see how that goes. So I'm doing this little disposable one because I want to get something that's got like a fine tip. Ooh, I've got a little bit much on that. So I'm going to get really close, and I'm going to try to be careful to not overdo it. Okay. Interesting. It's not what I thought it would be. Well, you know what? I'm going to let it dry. We'll see how it looks after it dries. Let's do the plasma weapon next. So, okay, I'm going to load up on that. And so I put some of that white ink in there. And we're just trying this because we haven't done this before. Trying to get the back side of it. I don't know if I like this. I mean, I'm going to let it dry. We're going to let it dry. We're going to see how it goes. But yeah, at a glance, I'm not sure this is what I want. I'm not sure that this is the effect that I'm going for. But we're going to keep trying it. We're going to let it dry. We'll see how it goes. Ooh, that's way too much on the brush. Yeah, if you can see it visibly pooling at the tip of the brush, it might be a little too much paint. Wow, those eyes are way too big. Oh well. I could maybe clean that up later. Let's see, does anyone else have... This guy's got something. This guy's got one little... Ooh, did not put him in here very well. Yeah, it's a very translucent paint, which I think is good. Because I think you're kind of intended to use this over a really light color. I don't know. What do you think? I might have to clean up the bottom of that when we start doing highlights just to make it look a little less awkward. But yeah, I think for the glow, I think... Is there anything else? So we did the disgusting slime on this guy. Maybe we'll put a little on that too. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of just experimenting, so we'll just try it. I don't know if it's going to make a difference because this is all kind of dark anyways, and we are, like I'm not trying to go super vibrant with a lot of this, but maybe I'll just do a little bit and see if it does anything. I don't think it's going to have a huge effect, but I'll put a little dollop here and there. Okay. I am liking how grody these guys are looking. I'm actually pretty happy with our progress on them. Okay, I'm gonna wash that brush real quick. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so next step I want to do, I'm actually thinking maybe I'll do the basing next, actually. The basing stuff usually takes a while. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe get that started right now. So we've got some of our wet ground here. And you can use a little palette knife or a scraper or a brush. I have the old Citadel texture tool. I don't even know if they make this anymore. It's fine. Like, it's not incredible, but like it'll do the job. And honestly, if you've got an old brush you don't care about, this is also a good contender for this. So you just get a little dollop of that on your brush. And actually, I might start with the other end. I'm going to wipe this off. So the other end of this is kind of got a narrower tip, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to try to get it in between his shoes there. I'm going to try to bring it right up against the shoes. And if I get a little on the edge of the shoes, I don't think that's a problem. But I want to try to avoid getting, like, I don't want to cover up everything with it. So I'm just going to get it up to the edge of the base. I'm using the tip of the tool to kind of press this mud into the little crevices. Get it up against this little Nurgling here. Got a little on the belly of the Nurgling, but that's okay. Look at him. He's still fine. And yeah, I'm just applying this kind of very carefully around the side here. Let's get some more. Get a nice little glob. I'm going to kind of push it behind the Nurgling. Okay, so this front part we've got a fair bit. We're going to have to get behind his legs and stuff, so we'll do that in a second here. Just going to get around the side of the foot. And I might push a little bit onto the boot, because it would make sense that he's got some on his shoes if he's traipsing about in the wasteland. I'll put just a little bit on the bottom of the shoe, a little bit on the edge. Okay. Now there's some like little sculpted on details on this base. I'm covering them. Ain't nobody got time for that. Like I said, my intention, and intention is important, my intention with this project is I'm making gaming pieces. So for me, I don't care about, like, this is not intended to be a, award-winning miniature. I'm just trying to get it to look nice so that when I play this game, it'll look fun and cool and rad. I'm trying to get this like weird skull that's back there. I got a bit on there. So yeah, I think that looks okay. And we'll let that dry. That takes, this takes like maybe 30, 40 minutes to dry typically. And since we're going to be doing a bunch of different steps, I figured maybe doing this earlier in the process is a good idea. So let's keep going. This guy's got an awful lot of stuff on his base. He is very busy base. I still have no idea what this little face is that's on the ground. I think it's very funny, but yeah, don't know what to do with that really. Okay, I'll clean the tip of this off a little bit. All right. Let's try to get the side here. Side the worm. Up against the shoe. Try to push some back there. If I get a little on the boots, I'm okay, but I'm trying to keep it near like the very bottom part of the boots. I'm getting a pretty healthy dollop there. And using it to kind of cover some of the stuff that's behind the boot. Okay, there we go. And in a way, a brush would be a little nicer because the brush tip is a little more flexible. So you'd have a little bit more play when you're applying it, as to the using the little palette knife type thing. Actually, where's that crappy brush? Okay. Yeah, okay. You're going to be a sacrificial brush. You've already failed me, so I'm going to start using you as an applicator of basing material. So I'm getting a little bit around the feet. There's like a stone that this guy's standing on. I'm going to apply some of this texture to the stone and underneath the thing. And I'm just going to daub a little bit on the end of the foot. And then I'm going to push it around. Yeah, the brush is a little bit nicer for getting in some of the nooks and crannies. Okay, so we've done that. I'm going to clean off my brush tip a little bit, and I'm going to try to clean off the base here on the side where I went a little hard, because I want to make sure that, like, once this dries, it's going to be pretty firm, and I don't want the base to be covered in a bunch of crusties, you know? So we got a little bit of overhang here. I'll try to clean that up as well. And a little bit on the back there. And now I'm going to get a paper towel, or a piece of a paper towel. So we'll take this guy off here. And I'm going to check my hands to make sure there's nothing on them. And I'm just going to run a paper towel around the edge here. Just clean up any of the extra that's kind of hanging over. Because I would like to try to keep this base rim clean. Okay. I think we're okay there, so I'm going to put him off to the side. All right, so let's move on to our next little guy. So let's get him. We're going to very carefully get the mud by these grenades. Yeah, these bases have like a lot of like little maggots and skull bits and whatever. And like those can be fun details to paint. And I am talking about pushing yourself as a painter. But also, I kind of feel like you got to have like a balance of how much time you want to spend and, like, again, what your intention is. Because I'm just making this to play games. And I mean, I want to do a slightly, like, I want to do a nice job. And I want to do a nicer job than I would typically do. And so that's what I'm aiming for. But I think you can, you know, choose to go hard on the basing. And actually, that is going to be a thing I do. Not for these particular guys or for the Space Marines, because this is not really the goal of this particular project. But for an upcoming video that I'm preparing stuff for, I actually want to do like a video specifically about basing. Because for me, basing is something I dread. I really, really don't like basing. But I think the thing is, it's like even if you end up painting something really well, if your basing looks bad, then it just like it takes down your whole model. And so I'm kind of begrudgingly accepting the fact that, you know what, this is a skill I need to work on. So I'm going to try to work on it, and we're going to try to get better. And I hope that watching me flounder with a bunch of things will maybe help you get a little more confident to try stuff too, but also, maybe see what not to do. Because I'm definitely going to make mistakes, that's for sure. So yeah, I'm just kind of threading between the legs here, trying to get a decent angle. Get the edge. And then when it comes to painting the base rim, we'll save that for the very end. That's always kind of a fun thing to do at the very end when you're finishing the model. I know that there's online, it's a funny debate, but like online people talking about like what color to base your do the base rim in. And I kind of don't care. I don't think that it matters as much as I mean, I do think it matters. That I should correct myself. I do think it matters. I do think that you kind of want to pick a color that works with your base. And so for me, I would be tempted, like, I like the way a black base rim looks. But for these, I think like a nice kind of desaturated kind of brown color could be good. I think that you could get away with a lot of different things. But yeah, it's kind of up to you what you like. And yeah, just figure out what works for you. I'm going to lower my desk a little bit. All right. So, we got him some stuff. You notice I keep looking at my fingers. It's because I've had too many instances where I have a glove on or not, and I get paint on my fingers, and then I go to pick up the model not by the base because we just spent time painting the base or whatever, and then getting some goop on a hand or a knife or whatever. And that's always terrible. Nobody likes that. You spend all this work and then get it all gooped up. So this guy's got like a little bit of area in between this hose and the Nurgling. And I'm going to just try to maybe I'll try to stab a little between the Nurgling and the... I got a little on his foot, but at least I covered that area. Kind of getting around the back. This little pipe that we painted a bunch of verdigris on, this actually looks like pretty nice when you get all the mud next to it. I feel like that kind of enhances the look. Okay, I'm going to see if I can push some paint back into these hard to reach areas, because there's a bunch in the middle that it's not very convenient to get to. But I think we got most everything there. I think we're okay with that. Check my hand. Pick up my little guy. All right. So, on to our next task. Get this one. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to be careful, but these goopy boys, they gonna goop. They're gonna be goopy. So a little bit of mud ain't gonna kill them. And I am kind of putting a little mud on the bottom of the shoes because that would make sense. So, some of the upcoming ideas I've discussed that I want to do is I want to maybe start a series of videos that are about just practicing new techniques. Like I really want to, like I said, do some work on basing. Like I want to get better at basing. I want to spend some actual time practicing that skill. And clean my brush out a little bit. Noticing the texture of the brush was starting to feel off, which means that it's probably probably time to wash it off before it gets too dry. And now we're just down to our last guy here. Yeah, so for other projects I'm looking at doing, so I want to do basing is something I want to practice. I have saved some Space Marine heads because I am one of those people that will almost always put a helmet on a Space Marine. And why I do that is because I think it's dumb to run around without a helmet on in space. I mean, yeah. Even if you are a giant super soldier, I think that, a helmet makes sense. However, I think part of it is me thinking that, and I think part of it is I'm intimidated by painting like faces. So I want to challenge myself and do a video where I just paint faces. I paint in a variety of skin tones. And I really want to practice that because I would like to be good at that because I have some other stuff I want to work on that is a lot of skin tones and a lot of faces. And it's another skill I need to work on. I have a bunch of Dark Oath for Age of Sigmar. And I really love that range, and I love a bunch of those models, and I want to do them justice. I want to do a good job on them. So, okay, so we've got the basis for a bunch of these guys. Now, I think, let's see, this paint is dry, so, actually, let me put this up. You can't tell I have ADHD, right? The way I get distracted, the way I jump from one task to another. So we got Plaguebearer Flesh. So let's give it a little shake. I'm going to clean off these tools that I was just using, put them off to the side. Okay, and let's get another brush out here. All right. Okay, it's looking okay. Let's do the back side. I'm just going to kind of be very fast with this. Okay. And then for this one, we'll do the same thing. I'm not going to paint the flies with this, or am I? Because I feel like the flies I need to have be a different color. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave the flies this kind of off-white, and then I will attempt to figure out what I'm going to do with them. Because I've also got these wings back here too. And what I think I'm going to do with those is I might do like copper around the what do you call it, the trim. Do the copper for the trim, And then the inside, I might do kind of the same I've done for these armor panels, where you can kind of see, like, with the stippling, how the highlighting looks on the panels. It's pretty subtle, and it has, like, a nice texture to it. So, like, that might be fine. We might just do something like that. Keep it simple. I think I need to change out my paper towel, or at least fold this one to get new space that doesn't have all that texture medium, because I don't want to ruin everything. So yeah, we'll let that sit. It's kind of pooling here. Whoa. Let's do that, yeah. We'll just take a little bit of that away. Okay, so we got that going. Got that going for us. So next step, let's pick out what we're going to do next. If we want to finish these guys, we need to finish these wings. So let's do that. Let's get this out of the way. I'm going to grab our base color is the Woodland Camo. So let's get that on our palette over here. And I'm going to paint that in. And we're going to try to get that rolling. So if I get a little bit on the trim, I'm not going to worry, because we're going to paint over the trim. So I'm just trying to get that color in, and that's all I'm really worrying about right now. And I'm trying to get it to be a little more opaque. And like, this is going to look messy, but it's okay. We're going to clean it up. Going to get this other side here. We're just going to... That is hard to show on camera, but yeah, we're going to just try to get some basic paint in there. Okay. And then you can see a little bit of the back side of the wings here, so we do want to try to get a little bit of this green in there. Boy, that is another thing that I probably should have done in sub-assembly, but that's okay. So yeah, we'll let that dry. It shouldn't take very long to dry. And then what I'll do is we can do a little bit of stippling with the... I might just go with just the mid-tone, because that's kind of what we're doing with everything else. We'll stipple on some of the mid-tone, and then I'll do the trim, which should be pretty straightforward, because it's not going to take super long to do that. And then we'll wash it. We'll give it some washes. We'll do that dark wash. What was it called? Military green, I believe. Let's see if I can find it over here somewhere. And then we've got the sepia tone wash that we'll do for the copper bits. And then where the heck is... Oh, we'll probably need dark rust again as well. We'll take that. Trying to grab all these things. Oh yeah, here we go. And then military shade is what we use for the green. So we'll do that. This is drying up pretty quickly, so I'm going to take a little bit of this, have that on my palette. Okay, so get a bit of that paint on my paintbrush here. This is pretty good for what we're doing. And we're just gonna, let's see, where's it look dryish? Just gonna do like little tiny dots. And you can see, like, I'm stabbing texture on this more than anything. Like, I'm not actually trying to, like, Like I'm just trying to do some like random texture in a different tone to make it look like there's more going on here than there is. So I'm just kind of gently putting a little bit of paint everywhere. I'm going to try to do a little bit. I was going to say I'm probably not going to do much back here, and the reality is I'm not. So I can't get back there very easily, so I'm just also trying to stab there randomly a little bit. And I'm gonna get this a little closer. So yeah, like it's got like kind of a messy texture, and that's okay. That's what we want. And I'm gonna take a little bit more of that dark green, the base color, and then we're gonna do a little bit more. We're gonna stipple again. So I'm just gonna stipple randomly in areas where I feel like it's maybe got too much. Okay. Okay, we'll let that sit for a second. And then we're going to contemplate what else we're doing with these flies. So, the flies. I don't know what I want to do with these. I kind of wish they weren't here. I think if I built this model again, I would actually clip them off. Like, don't worry about this one. Get rid of the ones that are up here. Yeah, just to like have less to worry about with that. Yeah, I think so. But alas, we have to deal with them now. So they're going to be green because of this wash. Maybe I can take like a black or something and do like little elements of them that are black just to kind of give them a different color. Okay. That's still tacky, but I think we can start doing the trim. So this I wasn't planning on using. But for the true copper, let's go ahead and I'm just mixing that paint real quick. I'm using my vortex mixer. You can just shake it by hand too, that's totally fine. I have a vortex mixer because I got it for like 20 something bucks, and ever since I use it all the time. It's a really nice little tool. Definitely not essential, but it is handy. Okay, I'm just mixing up that copper paint. The consistency of it was a little strange for me, so I'm going to just make sure that that looks a little bit better. Okay, so let's get in here and let's try to do... Ooh, okay. So I'm going to need to... We're going to have to do a little bit more here. I don't know if it was the paint was not mixed well enough, or if I just got like a bunch of medium or what, but it was not, it didn't have the opacity I was hoping for. Okay, let's try again. Let's also move these brushes out of the way slightly. So it's a little bit better. We're probably gonna have to do a couple coats of this anyway, so. Now I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to have this be too thick. I don't want to make a big mess on the green. If we do, it's okay. It's not like the end of the world. We'll get it cleaned up, and we'll get it looking as close as we can to the rest of the model. In a way, this is kind of showing like how far we've come with the model in terms of the visual aesthetic of these different components. Because at the beginning, this is more or less what it looked like. And right now, it is very far from that. Because washes, effect paints, all of this stuff kind of comes together to make it a lot more interesting looking visually. Kind of get the top of these. Try to get the bottom edges. Try to get all these little areas. And yeah, we will have to do a couple coats to get this to look the way we want. And I think, yeah, I think I'll do 2 coats. Do 2 coats, and sorry, I'm trying to get myself back in frame. Yeah, so we'll do 2 coats. We'll try to get a nice coverage for that, and then let it dry, and then we can do some of our like effect stuff. We'll do some rust. We'll do a little bit of the verdigris, and we'll do some washes, and get that looking good. Okay. And let me try to get this backside here. This is a little tricky. Yeah. A note for future me. Please, please, just build sub-assemblies. I know you hate it, but please, just make your life easier. Sub-assemblies are not your enemy. I avoid them like the plague, but it's only hurting me, because if I had built-in sub-assemblies, this would be much easier to paint. And, you know, it could be argued that some of the stuff I would be painting would be not visible to people, and, you know, that's true and valid. But, you know, it's more about just, like, making your overall process easier. So, yeah, I might paint some stuff that isn't going to be visible, but it'd also make painting the stuff that is visible easier. You know, like this part on the back, a nightmare. You know, like painting that cloak that the leader has, a nightmare. So, yeah, be nice to yourself and do the sub-assembly even if you don't like it. Since I have this paint out, I'm going to try to do just like a little bit of that copper around the edges of the sensor, like openings, to try to give it like some of that old color back, because we did go really hard with the copper there. I mean, not the copper, but the like rust effects and the verdigris. But I didn't want to completely hide the fact that that's supposed to be like a copper ball that is rusted. And we'll give it just a little bit here on the back too, kind of just brushing over it gently, just to get a little bit there. Doesn't need to be a ton. Okay, so we're gonna wash our brush. Try to keep your paint separate. Have one for metallics and effect stuff, and one for your normal just acrylics. And then we'll give these some washes, and this is looking a little messy, but that's okay. We're gonna get it looking good. Let's do, what's next? We'll do the military shade. Yeah, I'm kind of off what I was planning on doing, but that's how it be. I am a little chaotic in that respect. I have good intentions. I plan on doing things in a particular way, and then, you know, I have to improvise. So I'm trying to be careful. I'm just getting this wash in the middle part. We're using that military shade paint. I really like that tone. I'm actually probably going to use that more going forward, because I really like the effect that gives. Especially something like this where it's like you're kind of wanting it to be dark anyways. Kind of darkens it up. Let's get this on the back side. If it gets a little bit on the copper here, I think that's fine. Like, it's honestly not like a problem. It doesn't hurt it. So, okay, so we just did that little wash there. Technically, that'll take time to dry. In the meantime, we're going to use a little bit of this dark rust on that area that we just did. Also got to give this a little shake. Gonna get a little bit of that on my palette. Okay. Get some of that on my brush. And yeah, we're just gonna kind of put that over the metal here. I'm kind of putting it on most of the metal part, but I'm not worrying if it's everywhere because I just don't think it's that important. I'm just kind of putting this where I can. I'll kind of put it on some of the underside as well. Try to do that here because I think it does help kind of unify the look of this with the rest of the model. And this I will have to like actually let that sit and dry before I do the next step. So now we need to go back to our flies. So our flies are here. They're staring at us. I wish I knew what to do with them. Let me grab some paints over here. So I'm going to try something weird. I've got some Magos Purple contrast paint. We're already experimenting. We're already doing stuff that's kind of off script. And I might also take some snakebite leather. Get some of that cracked open. And then I've got some Basilicarnum Gray contrast paint. And you might be asking yourself, what are you doing? That seems like a weird combination of paints. And you'd be right, it is. So I'm going to take some of the gray, and I'm going to go and just kind of put it on the legs of the fly. I'm going to try to get both sides. And then for these little guys up here, do the same. Silicarnum gray on the legs. Little one. Luckily, the one that's further back here, you can't really see the legs very much. I'm just kind of giving the impression of it. But yeah, just putting a little bit there. Get some kind of tone on it. Okay. So we'll do that. Okay, I'm going to rinse off the brush. Now I'm going to take this Magos Purple straight from the pot. And I'm not doing the whole wing. I'm doing like kind of a chunk of the wing. It's more visible with this guy, but I'm going to do kind of like, I'm trying to represent like the part of the membrane of the wing is going to be a different color from the other part. And I'm just using this purple to give it kind of like a sickly, like festering kind of quality to it. And I'm going to try to do that on the back as well. And I think that this is something that like contrast paints can be really good for, is like you're kind of doing like a bit of like blending with this. And like you can give a lot of depth to something just by adding a little bit of these contrast paints. And so I kind of like that. Like it's giving the wings a little bit more character. I think that's going to be interesting. Okay, so let's like wash our brush again. And we're going to get some of that snakebite leather. And I'm going to do like the booty. Let's just get the booty in this kind of dark brown. It's kind of leathery color. And I'm trying to do just the booty part of it. Booty time. And yeah, there we go. We're just doing a little bit of that. And you're like, wow, okay, this is a lot of weirdness that you're doing here. I'm like, yeah, it is a little weird, but just stick with me. Okay, wash your brush out again. And now I'm going to take, yeah, I think we're just going to stick with these ones. I'm going to take a little bit of that pink. I'm going to put it near the head of the fly. And I'm going to let it mix in a little bit with that brown. And I'm going to do it on the back too. And kind of mixing these colors, I think, is actually interesting and can make it look a little bit better. So while these are still wet, I'm kind of mixing these together. Because if you look at these, they'll kind of look like flesh that has been bruised and damaged with these colors. So I'm kind of liking doing that, actually. Yeah, okay. And now I need to stop touching it for a minute. So you can see, like, I'm trying to do the wings. I'm going to give them that, and I'm going to leave some of the green at the tips, at the tops of the wings, but then have like the membrane be like that kind of like wounded, open, sore color. The back of the bug is going to be that kind of brown. The legs are kind of gray, and then the head I'm tinting with some of the Magos purple to make them look kind of more sickly and gross. I do need to let them sit, but I think that that's a good place to go with them. And honestly, I might just stop there. Like, I might let these dry, and then that's kind of just what they look like. Because that's fine. That's enough. As long as they're not like a solid color, I think I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to make them perfect. I'm just trying to make them more visually interesting. Now, I think at this point we could start doing the base rims. So I'm going to clean the brush. I've got this Vallejo black. This is what I'm going to use to rim the bases. I'd considered like a brown, but I think I'm just going to do black because I like it. And also, it's for a lot of my stuff, I paint it black. Look at my hands. I don't have any paint on it. I'm going to get the holder out of the way because it is less useful here. And then we're going to get some of that black paint going. And this, I don't care if it's a little thick because it is for the base. So yeah, for the rim of the base, it is less of a problem. You can just kind of put it down. I'm trying to make sure, like I'm trying to not get it on the mud parts, but this also will hide the parts where you got the mud on the sidewall. But like that's already looking pretty good. Let me turn this guy around. Get this backside. And the way I'm doing it, there's going to be a little bit of paint on the bottom lip of this. So when you set it down, you might want to set it down on like a paper towel or something, just so you don't get a bunch of black paint all over your, your cutting board or whatever you're working on. So I'm going to get another paper towel out. I'm going to do that right here. So let's just put this little guy there. All right. Next contestant. Let's get you your base. Now, once these guys are dried, I mean, I'm not completely done because I still need to finish those wings, which we will do in this video. But I'm going to get the bases done because for me, like these guys are basically ready. For tabletop standard, I think these guys are good. You could choose to put on like a varnish if you want, like a spray varnish or brush on varnish. I might do that. I'm kind of debating. But yeah, you can see I'm just getting a solid ring. Gonna get that going. Let's get this little guy going here. And yeah, and like ultimately it's about finishing your stuff, getting your stuff painted so you can play with it or enjoy it. I do want to try to do some models at a much higher level. Like I have some armies I want to do on the channel, and having like the big centerpiece kits for that. I want to paint those to as high a standard as I physically can. And I'm excited to try that because I have a few. Like I have a Flesh Eater Quartz army for AOS, and like none of the models are built. I don't think it's a full army, but it's like, you know, a good start to an army. But I did pick up Usharan, and I would like to paint him to a high standard, or as high a standard as I can. And so Usharan's probably going to be on the list. I also have like a bunch of other like kind of stuff I would like to do. I want to do some Mordheim stuff because I really like Mordheim. So I have a bunch of like conversions I want to do. I have a bunch of like Sisters of Battle kits that I'm basically going to convert into a Sisters of Sigmar force for Mordheim. I got some Blood Bowl teams to paint. Those I feel like I don't know if I'm going to do on camera or not. I might do them on camera. Who knows? It might just be like a fun like diversion because for those, they're also just those are playing pieces for me. So I don't typically like I'm not trying to paint them to super high level, but I'm going to try to paint them well. Try to paint them to a standard that I'm happy with. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's important is just are you happy with the stuff that you're doing? And I think while we finish these bases, I still have a little black paint. I might do a little cleanup on the next set of videos models on this, which would be kind of funny. You get a sneak peek at what I'm doing next. Because I've got them right here. So I've got some Space Marines. You can tell the paint is pulled away in a bunch of places, so I might actually just kind of go through and touch these guys up a little bit. You know what? I can do that on a separate thing. That's fine. All right. So let's take a look. So you can see what the flies look like. Yeah, like mixing contrast paints can kind of give you an interesting vibe with those. Now, to finish this guy up, he's still drying in a bunch of ways, but we can do a sepia wash over the back of these using the sepia tone from Army Painter. Because that's the last kind of step besides the verdigris, but I think I might just skip the verdigris on the back wings because I don't think it's necessary. But I'm going to put this sepia tone all over this. Trying to get the tops, trying to get the bottoms and the sides. And I'll rotate this a little bit here. I'll get the stuff that's behind. I'll try to get the stuff that's behind him. Put a little on his leg on accident, that's fine. It's not going to hurt him. Matter of fact, you could just do a little bit more of that if you want. The washes are like, it's I think just a nice tool. You can use it as much as or as little as you want. And yeah, so that'll help kind of make that look a little closer to the rest of the miniature, even though we didn't paint it at the same time. And I think I'm going to call that done. I think these are going to be finished. I'm going to do a little victory lap, and I'll show you like where they're ending for each of these models. This is also why I'm putting the paper down. You can see it's leaving the little black ring. So, you know, we've got our icon bearer, his little friend. We've got the mud, the backpack. Like, that's all looking pretty good. Then we've got our little grenade guy, our grenadier. And he's looking pretty good, I think. He's looking nice and gross. And he's got his little rim painted. And our basic guy with a gun, his glowy visor. He's also looking pretty nice. And like you can see a lot of places where this could be better. And like I said, it's okay. Like, oh, man down. Man down. But yeah, like, you know, it's just kind of what do you want to accomplish with your minis. These guys I noticed still have that purple for the on the flails. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave that. It's fine. It's not hurting anything. And then this guy with his little plasma gun. And our lastly, our guy with the gun that shoots vomit or whatever. And there we go. So yeah, I think for, you know, for someone who hasn't painted a lot of these kind of miniatures, I think that looks pretty nice. I might try to give them a varnish at some point, but I think that that's basically done for this video. So if you've watched up to this point, thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you got some nice hobby time in or enjoyed your time here. And yeah, look forward to the next video with you guys, which will probably be our Space Marines from the Kill Team box. All right, until then, be kind to yourself and do the things you love.